Just think, what will happen if you don't take statins? Have you considered this? Today we're going to have a look at a TV segment that was aired in the US about 1 month ago, and it's on the Today Show, and they're talking about statins and why you should probably take them. And I think this is a good one to watch just to see how disingenuous some of the information is. Let's watch.
Hallie, thank you.
A new study finds prescription statin drugs are effective in lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease and death, especially in older adults. Joining us is Today contributor Dr. Narula to break it all down. Good morning.
Hi, Taryn.
Good morning. Remind everybody, if you don't know, what statins are and what this study shows.
Well, statins have really revolutionized how we've been able to care for patients with cardiovascular disease. They're one of the most powerful tools in our arsenal. They lower the bad cholesterol, the LDL. They keep plaques that you may have in your arteries stable. And they decrease risk over time. So we know that for patients who are 40 to 75 who have risk factors for heart disease but no known cardiovascular disease, statins have been shown to reduce risk of heart attack, stroke, and death by about 20 to 30%.
Okay, hang on. They're known to reduce the risk of heart attack and death by 20 to 30%. Now, someone watching this that might be, 75 years old and has been told by their doctor that they should maybe take a statin the last time they went to see them, and now they're watching this on TV and they're thinking, you know what? 20 to 30%, reducing my risk of a heart attack and dying by 20 to 30%, that's a good deal. I think I'm onto this. I'm going to take these statins, right? So let's say 30%. Let's keep it easy for us and be generous to the statins. Let's say 50%. Let's say that the risk reduction from heart attack and death is 50%, right? They are super duper statins and they will reduce the risk by 50%, right? Problem is, this percentage is relative risk, not absolute risk. And what that means is that when they do a study, they take 100 people and they put them in one group who are receiving a placebo, and they take another 100 people and they put them in another group who are receiving the actual statin, the actual medication. So what happens? Well, maybe in the placebo group, 2 people have a heart attack over the study period. In the medication group, the statin group, 1 person has a heart attack over the study period. So we've got 2 people taking the placebo had a heart attack, 1 person taking the statin had a heart attack. And what that means is we take 1, we divide it by 2, we get 50%. There's your 50%. That's how Tyra or Tina or whatever her name is coming up with this figure of 20 to 30%. It's relative risk. The actual risk reduction, the actual absolute risk reduction, going back to our 50% example, the actual risk reduction is 2 people had a heart attack in the placebo group. 1 person had a heart attack in the statin group. 2 minus 1 is 1. The absolute risk is 1%. That's it. If the pharmaceutical company goes out there and says, our statin is absolutely fantastic, it reduces your risk of heart attack and death by a massive 1%, how would that look on their advertising? How many people would be buying statins? Statins would be a product no longer sold, probably. Anyway, let's continue with Mrs. Relative Risk.
What really has remained in question is what to do with our patients who are over 75. This has been a black box, really because we haven't studied these patients. And so this new study really shows that those patients who are in their 70s and even 80s actually also benefit in terms of reducing heart attack and stroke, and there were no serious concerns of side effects or risks.
Let's talk about some.
Of course, because That way we can sell more statins.
Talk about side effects for a second, because I think a lot of people, I know some who were on statins who had things like muscle issues and other issues, but this study shows something different.
You know, I think this gets so overpopularized, and so many of the discussions I have in my office are about patients concerned about statins and side effects. The reality is the serious side effects, things like muscle inflammation or liver inflammation, this is like on magnitudes of less than 1%.
So as effective as statins then?
So most people tolerate these very well. About 80 to 90% don't have any side effects. The most common are muscle or joint aches or pains, but Hoda, if you stop the medication, in most of those cases, the statin side effects will go away. And you
Amazing. So just don't take the medication.
have other options. There's about 7 statins on the market that you can try. So I always say, you know, don't be afraid, give it a try. And really in this elderly population, it's also about quality of life. I feel like these patients many times get undertreated. But I like to say, you know, it's about if you have a stroke or a heart attack and you develop heart failure, you can't talk or you can't see or you can't walk, those last 10 or 15 years of your life are really impacted.
Yeah.
So it's important to have.
So if you develop type 2 diabetes or dementia as a result of taking statins, how has those last 15 years of your life impacted in that case?
This conversation with your doctor.
Okay, Doctor, thank you very much.
That was a doctor. And if you'd like to find out more about this statin con and the cholesterol con, check out my interview with Dr. Anthony J. here.